I've always had a love for power scaling, but the community is not very cool, and people will literally do shit like doxing you over your opinions on how strong a fictional character is. So before I get into the video, I just want to say this is supposed to be fun, guys. I'm sure I'm gonna be wrong about things. If so, don't be an asshole about it. Inform me in the comments or tell me, and I'd love to learn. Anyway, just to get into the video, I'm sure I'm going to get some things wrong, and that's fine. This is just my opinion on the scaling of Star Wars, so I don't know. Be chill. In this video, I'll cover The Acolyte, The Phantom Menace, and Clone Wars Vintage 2003. I know that's not canon, but I like it, so whatever. Just think of it as a little bonus, I guess. I intend for this to be a long-running series on this channel, so I have a little tier list to put all the characters. As you can see, there's going to be a lot of tiers, not even all of them shown here. And these tiers may change meaning depending on how far the scaling goes. For me, it's just an easy way to keep up with who the strongest characters are and where they kind of are in the spectrum. Just to get it out of the way, the bottom tier is reserved for characters who aren't combatants, but they have some sort of skill that makes them some kind of threat. For example, R2-D2 or young Anakin, who aren't fighters, but they can do damage. In K tier, we got young Anakin and R2-D2. They are not fighters, but R2-D2 has shown the ability to fly. Also, he can like deprogram things and open doors. And he's got that main character plot armor where realistically he should have been killed a long time ago, but he manages to survive every single movie. Anakin doesn't have any combat prowess, but he is a great pilot, and he has the highest midichlorian count ever, so we're just gonna put him here. Also, from what we know about Grogu, who's literally a baby, Anakin might be able to do some crazy shit like twist a rhino's nutsack. Oh yeah, I forgot we're also doing Attack of the Clones, which means that young Boba Fett would probably also be in that tier. Next we got J tier, which is kind of just for your average soldier level character. And I know there's a lot of difference in the power here. You could argue that clone troopers and battle droids should be on completely separate tiers, but I'm just trying to keep it simple. Zam Wesell is insanely disappointing because for such a prominent bounty hunter, you'd assume they'd be much more powerful, but we really don't see a lot from them. I put clone troopers at the top because they're basically trained from day one to be elite soldiers. Speaking of elite soldiers, I tier is reserved for characters who aren't quite Padawan level, but they do have okay matchups with people higher on the tier list. Fordo is represented as an elite soldier, and he was able to kill multiple battle droids. There's also a scene where him and his men are firing at General Grievous, and rather than blocking or reflecting the attacks, General Grievous is forced to run from them. May and Osha are very talented in hand-to-hand combat, and when push comes to shove, they can do damage to higher level Force users like Jedi Masters. Magna Guards can consistently catch Jedi Masters off guard, and they also can easily kill clone troopers. I imagine I'm gonna piss some people off with these next couple tiers because we're actually getting into the real Force users now, and that means main characters. And y'all might not agree with my stances on this. Now, before you freak out, that's not Plo Koon, it's another of the same species, and there's a reason that Anakin as a Padawan is so low. This tier is mainly for Padawans. Padawan Torben could survive an attack from Kel Naka, and Shaw Ji is implied to have gone through a large battle before he gets murked by General Grievous. But as for Ethia, or whatever her name is, I don't know her actual Jedi rank, but she was one of the fodder characters to the Stranger in The Acolyte, so I'm just gonna put her in Padawan tier, because we don't know much about her. You can argue that Anakin is a low Jedi Knight level character because he was able to briefly spar with Dooku and his insanely high midichlorian count, but he really does nothing in the movie. I mean, yeah, he kind of helps take down the bounty hunter, but in the fight with Dooku, it's kind of an anti-feat how easily he gets his ass whooped. And Dooku wasn't even taking the fight seriously. He was visually smiling and clowning around the whole time. Next, we got G tier for Jedi Knight level characters. Despite being a Padawan, Jeki was able to hold her own against the stranger for quite some time before finally getting killed. And I think that's just impressive enough to bump her up a tier. Yord also lasted against the stranger for quite some time, but to me, he just comes across as the most average Jedi Knight you can possibly find. And it's also implied that it took him forever to even get to the rank of Jedi Knight, so for all we know, he might just be ass. Count Dooku believed that Asajj Ventress was more than enough of a matchup for Anakin Skywalker. But at this point in time, Anakin Skywalker was increasing in strength very rapidly, and we can see this as he literally gets updated to the rank of Jedi Knight right after beating Asajj Ventress. Obi-Wan Kenobi is this high because as a Padawan, he was able to fight against Darth Maul alongside Qui-Gon Jinn, and eventually defeat Darth Maul when he had an amp after watching Qui-Gon die. In Maul's defense, though, the only reason he really lost was because he was overconfident. We're on to F tier, and I'll try and get through this tier pretty fast. It's just for your standard average Jedi Master, and there's a theme in this tier. Most of the characters are implied, or you could assume, to have some higher level of strength, but we don't really get to see that in full force. Whether it be a Torben scenario where he was super strong and had that really awesome force shield, but he was killed in the show super fast. The average Jedi Master could completely outclass anyone below them on this list so far, but they also have horrible matchups against the people above them, getting easily murked by the Jedi killers like Darth Maul and General Grievous. Now in E tier, we can look at the true Jedi Masters. These are characters who I would consider on the level of your average Jedi Council member. And yes, I'm aware that Coleman Trebor was a member of the Jedi Council. However, I refuse to put him any higher than the tier I put him in. You can rearrange the bottom three of this tier however you want. I'm not so sure about the order I put him in, but I'm pretty confident on the rest of these. Shakti and Ki-Adi-Mundi were consistently able to survive against Grievous after their grueling battle, and Kit Fisto was taking down entire small armies of droids and ships by himself. Qui-Gon is above all of this, though, because it's literally stated that he would be a member of the Jedi Council if it weren't for him breaking the rules all the time. Also, the sheer amount of time he spent one-on-one with Darth Maul is insane. Darth Maul is a certified Jedi killer no matter how you slice it. So it's very impressive. Qui-Gon did amazing considering this was the first encounter with a Sith in God knows how long. But there are still characters I would consider more impressive, like Jango Fett straight up being able to fight Obi-Wan Kenobi with a little bit of assistance from Boba, and also he was able to kill Coleman Trebor. Even if it was an off-guard kill, that's impressive. 2003 Clone Wars Obi-Wan would automatically just be stronger than the movie version because he's now more accustomed to war combat and has probably grown in Jedi training. You can also further this point by saying he was able to beat Dirge when he wasn't able to beat Jango Fett. Anakin after the time skip should be roughly around the top of this tier because he's shown to be one of the most important assets to the Jedi. I reserved D tier for the Jedi killers. All of these characters in this tier can pretty much casually kill Jedi Knights and Padawans, and even to an extent Jedi Masters. Strap in for the final tier because I might be about to spit some hot takes. I don't know though. Maybe I'm objectively right. Maybe this is stupid. You can tell me. Mace Windu basically solos an army of droids, so that should pretty much solidify why he's so high. Also, he's basically treated as the second highest rank of the entire Jedi Council, right next to Yoda. Dooku trained General Grievous and Asajj Ventress. Also, he's able to casually beat the shit out of Obi-Wan and Anakin. But Yoda takes the high ground for that final part of the tier, because he low-key had Dooku shit in his pants. He might have had a facade on, but I think most of us are under the consensus that Yoda would have won that fight. But yeah, that's my tier list for now. I'm super tired. It took a long time to make this video, even if it doesn't seem that way. I just hope you enjoyed. Tell me what you think. Bye.